This parasha, we learn about the 10 plagues that were afflicted upon the Egyptians by God. The question is, why was it necessary to bring 10 plagues? God could have just bring one plague and free the Jewish people. The great sage, the Bar Benail and the Rebbe give this beautiful insight. You see, the 10 plagues were not just plagues that struck the Egyptians at a certain point of time, but rather they are eternal lessons for all generations. And they come to address three essential questions that people have. Question number one, does he exist? Does God exist? Question number two, if God does exist, does God supervise us? Is God involved in our lives? Is there a system of justice, of reward and consequences and so on? And then the third question is, who runs the world? Is it the forces of nature or God? You know, sunrise, sunset, the whole system of astronomy, when we plant, things grow. Is it a different force that runs it, or is it God? And these three questions are answered by the 10 plagues, dividing the 10 plagues into three. The first three come to teach us that there's only God that exists. One God exists. You see, the Egyptians didn't believe in God. Paro and the Egyptians worshipped the Nile River because the Nile River was the source of their sustenance. It irrigated their plants and the source of their life. And therefore, they worshipped the Nile River. So God struck the Nile River, all the waters turned into blood. And that was a statement that there is no other God besides me. The second set of three plagues came to teach us that God supervises and God is involved in our lives. Because in the second set of three plagues, God says that he will bring the plague upon the Egyptian oppressors and not the Jewish people. Like the wild animals only befell upon the Egyptians and not the Jewish people. And over here, God demonstrated that God is not some detached God hovering in the heavens, but God supervises us and is involved in our lives. The third question, who runs the world? Is it the forces of nature or God? So God brought the plague of barad, of hail. And the Torah says that the hail was a bowl of ice, and within the ice, fire flickered, so that fire and water coexisted. And that goes against the laws of nature. Fire and water cannot coexist. Over here, God broke the laws of nature and said that I am in charge of the nature and I create the nature, and if I want, I can change the nature. And the same was true with the plague of darkness. The system of astronomy, the sunrise, sunset, and so on and so forth, is very, very meticulous and very predictable. And so all of a sudden, God brought 3 days of darkness, and God interrupted this system to show that the nature upon itself has no independent power. It is only God who has power. So the laws of nature is mainly a tool that God created in which God runs the world and sustains the world, and everything is God. These three ideas are represented by 3 verses at each of these plagues. The first 3 plagues, it says in the Torah, "V'yodu Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem," and Egypt will know that I am God, the idea that God exists. In the second set of 3 plagues, it says, "Ani Hashem b'kerev ha'aretz," I am God within the land, which means God is involved, personally involved in our lives. In the third set of 3 plagues, the verse says, "Laman teda ki la Hashem ha'aretz," in order that you should know that the earth belongs to me. The earth and nature is all God. It's all the godly force. When we understand this and we internalize these three ideas, it gives us the confidence to go through life, overcome the obstacles, and do what we need to do because we know that Hashem is always with us. Have a wonderful Shabbos.